Hey everyone, it's Todd the Cybertruck truck guy, back after a while. So today I want to talk about why I think the Cybertruck is going to become the #1 pickup truck in the United States and why it's going to stay there for a while. There's been a lot of recent news surrounding the launch of the Rivian and excitement around the F150 Lightning as they get closer to production and as Rivian actually starts delivering some of its vehicles. And there's especially a lot of question marks around whether or not Ford, with its success with the Mustang Mach-E, might not actually be able to defend its throne in terms of the electric pickup truck. Today I really want to talk about why the Cybertruck is going to dominate once it gets into production. And it really is a question of two things. The first is supply, and the second is demand. So let's just talk first about the supply side. We know from Tesla that one of the biggest obstacles to ramping has been battery supply, because we believe the Cybertruck, because of its size and the performance statistics, is going to be relying on the nickel chemistry and not on the iron chemistry that they're able to purchase from Chinese suppliers in such large quantities. So the reality is that while Ford is building some battery plants, they're relying on third-party vendors to get them their supply. And we also know that the pickup trucks are going to require larger battery packs than regular sedans. With the battery constraints that already exist in the marketplace, without a clear roadmap for Ford to actually ramp dramatic quantities, to me there's a significant question mark around what they'll actually be able to produce in terms of battery packs in, say, the first 1 to 4 years, until there's enough auxiliary capacity from other vendors and enough internal capacity from within Ford. So I think the issue with Ford is going to be a lot more about supply. They're already, they sold out of the Mach-E, and they're having a problem filling even a few thousand orders of the Mach-E with that battery pack size. So yeah, I think we're going to see a real supply-constrained Ford for a while. Same old's true with the Rivian. They have 3 mouths to feed from their production line. They've got the truck, they've got the SUV, and then they have the van deliveries for Amazon. They're hoping to get their first year production at around 40,000 vehicles. So if you split that up, call it a third, you're talking about 5,000 to 15,000 trucks in their first year of production. Now, granted, they can scale up, and I'm sure they will, and they've got a head start on Tesla, right? There are Rivians delivering trucks, and the Cybertruck is still not being produced. But I think we're going to see that the ramp of the Cybertruck is going to follow the ramping processes of the other vehicles once it actually starts being produced. We're looking at a Cybertruck that might be delayed in the initial production behind the F-150 and the Rivian, but once they actually start to ramp, they're going to rapidly be able to exceed the supply constraints that I think are going to dog Rivian and the F-150 for a while. So that's the supply side. Now, on the flip side, you have the demand side. So let's just talk about the existing truck market as it stands. The existing truck market, full-size truck market, is predominantly North American. And because there is not a demand for full-size pickup trucks in other parts of the world at the same level as it is in North America, what that does is it reduces the likelihood of other brands trying to compete in that space. It's just not a big enough market. It's really big for America. It's about 3 million vehicles a year. But outside of America and Canada, there is not a broad demand for full-size pickup trucks. So that means your entrants for the full-size pickup truck space for electrification are likely going to be limited to the big three automakers, although they're not the big three anymore. But you've got Ford, GM, and Stellantis, which is the Dodge/Ram brand. Those are the three full-size pickup truck makers today. Then you have the Toyota Tundra, but we're the big three. Each have somewhere between 600,000 and a million vehicles per year that are full-size pickup trucks. You've got Toyota, which is about 100,000 Tundras. You got a big market domestically that consumes a lot of full-size trucks, but not a lot of desire for other entrants to get into the full-size truck game. So you have a limited number of competitors. So this is the thing that I think people don't really understand about the Cybertruck is it's not going to be competing like the Model 3 and the Model Y. It's going to be competing with dozens of competitors. And even still, even while it's competing with dozens of competitors, they're still doing well. The Cybertruck is only going to be competing probably with 3 or 4 or 5 other brands, 5 other attempts to electrify it. You have a situation where you don't have the brand competition. I doubt China is going to be making full-size pickup trucks, at least for a while. Maybe BYD, because they are making buses and other things. I could see BYD maybe trying to take a run at it, but you have to realize especially the American truck market, they're much more inclined to be picky about Buy American than sedans or SUVs. In the world of full-size pickup trucks, people want American made. And that matters, that counts, and they don't. It's taken Toyota forever to get a really small percentage of the full-size pickup truck market. Seriously, you're really only looking at 3 competitors to the Cybertruck: Ford, Chevy, and Ram. And Ram has nothing yet. There's nothing even announced. So really, you have Ford and Chevy hasn't even announced their full-size truck. So really, you have Ford. You're competing. The Cybertruck is competing practically with one vehicle, the F150 Lightning, one full-size, fully electric pickup truck. And people say, well, what about the Rivian? Okay, in the world of trucks, people don't generally think of mid-size truck buyers. So I'm coming to you from my Tacoma. This is a mid-size truck. People that buy these mid-size trucks they're buying them for a reason. They want a smaller size, either because they're in an urban environment, they want better fuel economy, or they want a smaller vehicle for going off-road. That's why I picked the Tacoma over a full size, is because I wanted a smaller vehicle for doing off-road stuff. But now, why am I going back to a Cybertruck? Why not the Rivian? Because the Rivian is more closer akin to the Toyota. Well, that gets to the demand side and what I want to talk about. When we're talking about demand, I already talked about the fact that the full-size category, really you only have one competitor. But I want to talk about demand, and to do that, we're going to go one of my famous sophisticated graphics tools. You're going to be really impressed. That's the Cybertruck. I told you you'd be impressed. Okay, so I know I have a couple of, I gotta find my pen here. Okay, so basically what I'm gonna illustrate with my sophisticated graphics device here is I wanna talk about all the different segments that are gonna feed into the Cybertruck over the F-150, or to some extent even the Rivian, but really, again, full size is a different market. Each one of these represents a piece of the pie of people that are going to convert to the Cybertruck. Because I think when people look at the F-150 Lightning, they're like, oh, competition is coming. Oh, the Ford has been the #1 pickup truck. But again, I think they're going to be constrained by supply, and there's a lot of people that are going to be switching to the Cybertruck. So let's start talking about the groups that the Cybertruck is going to be nibbling off little chunks of all these different groups. All right. So the first one is the full-size Suburban market. I'm not going to hold this up. This is just going to, I'll just hold it up to illustrate my point. What do I mean full-size suburban market? Okay, so I live in suburban Kansas City, and in my neighborhood, I have a broad mix of people. There's a few contractors, people that work in the contracting world like me, but then there's just a lot of regular office workers and programmers, engineers, all that stuff. So I drove through my neighborhood and I did a quick count, and there are, just in my like a couple of cul-de-sacs, about 1/3 of the houses have a full-size pickup truck. And I know some of these people, and I know they're not contractors. They just want a full-size pickup truck. There is a massive number of people, especially in what I call truck land here in kind of the American Midwest and the South and Southwest. Truck culture is really big, and people buy full-size trucks instead of SUVs. And there is going to be a large chunk of people that are in the full-size truck and SUV suburban area that are going to go with the Cybertruck over the F150 Lightning. And one of the big reasons they're going to do that, and what's going to blow their mind, is four-wheel steering. So I haven't done a video about four-wheel steering, but I think people seriously underestimate how powerful four-wheel steering will be for the suburban market, because one of the things that people hate, and they love having a full-size pickup truck for how spacious it is, how capable it is. They can throw all the gear in the back and it doesn't get the inside muddy, is parking. Parking a full-size pickup truck in a parking lot where you're trying to pull into a tight parking space is a serious pain in the butt. The reason, if you're not a truck person and you go to a parking lot and you see trucks backing in to a parking stall, it's because they're sort of getting the benefits of four-wheel steering by using their front wheels to pivot the back end around to get into tight parking stalls. So that's why a lot of people do that with trucks, is they're not trying to show off that they can back up. They're actually using that because it gives them the ability to pull into tight parking spots by using the front wheels as if they had rear wheel steering. When people actually get to drive a Cybertruck, especially like people that are a little intimidated by full-size pickup trucks in general because of the parking factor, they're going to be blown away by the difference that four-wheel steering makes. So there is a massive number of people that will want to make that switch to a full-size truck from a suburban SUV or from a full-size truck. And that four-wheel steering is really going to be appealing to them, and it's not something any of the other ones offer. Yeah, it'll be awesome for, like, I'm very excited. I hope I'll be able to put a plow on the front of my Cybertruck, because plowing with four-wheel steering would be so awesome. It would be incredible. You spend a lot of time turning when you're plowing. And also off-roading, it's going to be a big advantage. But the hidden advantage of four-wheel steering is suburban parking lots. That's one reason why the Cybertruck is going to pull a lot of people into it to use it in a suburban environment. So second group of people the Cybertruck will pull in that won't be interested in going with the Rivian or the F150 Lightning is FSD believers, full self-driving believers. There is a lot of skepticism about full self-driving now. People have been promising it for a decade, and no one's making progress on it except really Tesla and to a lesser extent Waymo, but that application requires a special vehicle, so it's not going to be something that they can incorporate with regular vehicles unless they have that super sophisticated LiDAR. So the point is, if you believe in full self-driving, if you believe that Tesla is actually making progress on it, if you believe that full self-driving will be something that will be able to take you point to point without you even having to pay attention eventually, if you believe that that robotaxis are going to become a thing, that you could use your Cybertruck as a robotaxi, as part of the robotaxi fleet, if you believe those things, then you're going to buy a Cybertruck. If you want a truck, you're going to buy the Cybertruck, because as many of the tools that they're putting in these other vehicles, they're relying on someone else to solve the problem, Mobileye or maybe even Tesla, but they're not really trying to solve the problem themselves. And I'm an FSD believer. I believe I'm watching all the videos get closer and closer and closer. And I think at some point the switch is going to get thrown and the Cybertruck is going to have now the capacity to go point to point without me even having to pay attention. Maybe it's not going to happen for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, but I believe it's going to happen. I believe Tesla will get there first. And I think there's a lot of people like me that even if they don't pay for full self-driving when they get it, their belief is when it happens, Tesla will get there first and they'll be able to get it for their truck. So that's group number 2. All right, group number 3 that the Cybertruck is going to get. Full-size off-roaders. Now, this comes to why I wanted to trade in my Tacoma for a Cybertruck. So I had an F250 before. If you've watched my channel, if you watch my older videos, I had an F250, 3/4 ton, 4-wheel drive pickup truck that I plowed with before. Then we got to the point where I didn't have to plow anymore. We had enough trucks in our fleet. So what I really love to do with my truck is I love to go off-roading. But some of the problems with the smaller mid-sized truck is it is harder for me to haul my motorcycle in my smaller truck. I have a motorcycle I like to bring with me when I go off-roading. It's hard for me to put as much gear in this smaller truck. The bed's smaller in the mid-sized trucks. Their cargo capacity is less. Their overall cargo storage area is less. It's tighter quarters. It's harder for me to bring passengers in the smaller vehicle. And so anytime if you're a normal person, you don't have a dedicated off-road vehicle, your daily driver also needs to be your off-road vehicle. So what you want something that's going to be really capable for your daily drive needs, but also is going to be really capable off-road. And the Rivian is going to be really capable off-road, and I think it's going to be a capable daily driver, but it's going to have space limitations. It's not going to accommodate as many people, as much cargo, as big of payloads, all that other stuff. So I really miss my full-size vehicle. When I get off-road, I love my Tacoma. It's awesome off-road, but I'm making all kinds of trade-offs as a daily driver and getting from here to there. And so I want to go back to a bigger vehicle, but without compromising my ability to go off-road. And the fact that the Cybertruck is going to have variable air suspension, it's going to have 4-wheel steering, it's going to have an armored exterior, armored bottom. It's going to be way more capable than the F150 Lightning. It gives the Cybertruck has much more range, especially the tri-motor. And frankly, when you're comparing it to the other vehicles, you need to compare it against their $60,000 or $70,000 offerings. If you're somebody that is into off-roading or overlanding or using your vehicle in that way, you're going to lean towards the Cybertruck over the full-size alternative, the F-150. Okay, group number 4 that the Cybertruck is going to pull over from either the F-150 or the Rivian. Corrosion sensitive. This is one thing that I find really interesting. Part of the reason I started doing this channel is all the experts that would get on and they would say, oh, no one's going to buy the Cybertruck. It's too weird. The other companies are going to bring their more conventional vehicles and everyone's going to want to get them. And I wanted to say, you guys need to get some commentators that are in the Midwest and the Rust Belt, because you guys have no understanding how problematic corrosion is to our trucks. When people buy full-size trucks, a lot of them, their plan is to quote unquote drive it until the wheels fall off. Well, what causes the wheels to fall off is usually not something with the engine or transmission. In fact, I had a Honda Pilot, 2006 Honda Pilot, that I was going to stick some money in because it's so expensive to buy new vehicles or even used vehicles. So we were thinking about getting rid of, I had an old Pilot that handed down to one of my kids, and we were thinking about trading that in, but we said, well, let's just fix what's wrong with it instead of trading it in. when I brought it to the mechanic, he said, well, you can fix some of this stuff, but there's so much rust in the rear underbody that eventually this is just going to disintegrate. So I wouldn't put too much into it. That really happens here in the Midwest. Our vehicles, after 10, 12 years, they start to come apart. They literally start to fall apart. Whole components start just to disintegrate. And when someone said, I'm going to give you something built out of stainless steel, I was ecstatic. The idea we use in our business, we use two kinds of salt spreaders, stainless steel or plastic. And I don't want a car made out of plastic. The whole upper Midwest, the whole Midwest and upper Midwest and Northeast, this is going to be a big deal. People are going to buy the Cybertruck over other trucks because it won't corrode. At least the body won't corrode. At least the parts that are made out of stainless steel won't corrode. And yes, I know stainless steel gets pitting and it can corrode some, but it's not like regular steel. And it doesn't matter what you do, how you treat it, unless you treat it every year with corrosion resistance type products or put special coatings on and you do it once every few years, you're going to start to have corrosion issues with your truck. And I'm tired of corrosion problems with my vehicles. A huge deal for me is corrosion. And I know it is. I've seen other people do videos on this. Corrosion is a huge deal. It's not a big deal for the people on Wall Street and for the tech reporters out in California, but where trucks actually get bought, where people drive them, freaking corrosion is a huge deal. And it's a big deal because we want to keep our trucks till the wheels fall off. We want to put 200,000-300,000 miles on it or more. And in our area, the thing that usually ends the lives of our vehicles is rust. So yeah, big deal. All right, group number 5 that is going to buy the Cybertruck over the Rivian or the F150 Lightning are people that want to use it for hardcore towing. The thing is people look at what are the trucks rated for? Oh, the Cybertruck Tri-Motor is rated for 14,000 pounds and the F-150 Lightning, I think was, 12,000 pounds. And the Rivian was something like, 12 or 14,000 pounds. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it's rated for. Yeah, it kind of matters. What really matters is how long can you tow that load for? Because the problem is those other vehicles, their top range is 400 miles. Tri-Motor is 500. When you start towing, that's going to drop probably by between 50 and 65%, depending on how much you're towing. So a Tri-Motor Cybertruck that has 500 miles, well, if your supercharger stops are 150 miles apart, you're going to be able to get from supercharger to supercharger with room to breathe. If you're using a Rivian or an F-150, you're going to be sweating, am I going to make it to the next supercharger? And I'm saying that everyone's like, well, they won't be able to, but we know they're opening up the supercharger network. So just assume they're going to open up the supercharger network. Just assume they're going to start building pull-through superchargers. Yes, I'm sure it'll take some time, but all things being even, you want to be able to know I can go 200, 250 miles from charge to charge. And the only vehicle that's going to be able to do that, besides the Tesla Semi, is going to be the Cybertruck. That's a huge deal for people that tow highway towing. I think 150 miles, if you can get 150 miles, that's fine. For most people, that's 2 hours. Most people want to stop after a couple hours, 2.5, 3 at the outside. So 210 miles. I think the Cybertruck, that extra 100 miles is going to make a big difference in your comfort in towing long distances with heavy loads. And I think that's, again, people buy trucks for a reason. This is my whole point. People buy trucks for a reason. Maybe it is just as a suburban vehicle, but I think the Cybertruck will be awesome for suburban purposes. Maybe it is off-roading, maybe it is towing, but there are reasons people buy it. And then the Cybertruck is going to be pulling groups of truck or large SUV owners into the space. And then the last thing, and I know that people are going to go, oh, that's not true. So the sixth group are people who love the looks and they love the company, or they love the company. When the Cybertruck was revealed, there was a lot of people that hated it. But there was also a lot of people who loved it. They loved the looks. I get it. It's very polarizing. A lot of people that see it hate it. A lot of people I know that see it hate it. But a lot of people I know are like, that is cool. That is badass. And you don't need everyone to love the looks of it, but there are a very large number of people that love it. They love how radical it is. They love how Blade Runner-y it is. And I think this speaks to something that is very different about the Cybertruck, which is it's going to really expand the truck audience. It's going to bring a whole bunch of people in who just love it because it looks crazy, it looks awesome, it looks wild. And there's also, I would say I'm kind of in this category. There's people that love the company. And this is something that it's very hard for people from the outside looking in who don't love the looks and don't love the company. But I happen to believe that global warming is a big deal. I happen to believe that without Elon Musk and Tesla figuring out how to solve this problem, we wouldn't be where we're at. And we wouldn't be in a position to actually really have switched the lever in our culture to actually go electric vehicles are, and certainly I don't think it would have happened in North America. Maybe in Europe, maybe in Asia, maybe it would have gotten there. But what Tesla did is they made electric cool, and they demonstrated that electric could be profitable, and that electric vehicles could be as capable as their ICE vehicle counterparts. And so I think when you're choosing things in life, I think of something as the all things being equal threshold. There's like an all things being equal threshold. And all things being equal, if I don't have to pay more money, if I can get as good a performance, if I'm not really making any compromises, I'd rather choose the company that's actually doing something to make a positive difference. And I think Ford is going to build a great vehicle, but I think Ford is probably going to be successful. And I think the F150 Lightning is going to be successful. But I think there's a lot of people that love the mission of the company Tesla, and all things being equal, if they don't have some big reason to choose the Ford over the Tesla, I think they're going to choose the Tesla for reasons other than just the vehicle itself. And it's going to be about the mission, and it's going to be about the company. And you may not agree with that. You may think that that's not important, but I think there's a large number of people that actually do think that way. And in a world where all things are equal, and they don't have to, and they're not making compromises, they'd rather go with the company that actually is really trying to make a difference on an environmental front. So I think when you pull together all those different groups and types of people that are excited to look at electric trucks, I think the combination of the Cybertruck's appeal to all those groups and its ability to produce in volume makes it, honestly, the inevitable winner of the pickup truck race, at least for a period of time. I'm going to say probably by 2023, and probably from 2023 to, 2027, 2028, I don't think anyone will just even be able to produce at the volume that Tesla will be able to produce the Cybertruck. Other companies, especially we know some Chinese companies, that are probably going to be able to produce the number of units when it comes to sedans, when it even comes to SUVs, but not trucks, and definitely not full-size pickup trucks. So I think the Cybertruck will win. And I think maybe they'll get knocked off, maybe not. It's hard to know, but I think for a period of time, The Cybertruck is going to be the #1 EV pickup truck in the world. And it's probably going to happen by 2023. And I don't think anyone has a legitimate chance of knocking them off until who knows. So anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Bye.